Welcome back to another video of MLB All Around. We got episode 6 here today, and today we're going to try something a little bit differently. Nothing new structure-wise. We're still going to look at the standings for both leagues and then take a look at the playoff predictions. If the playoffs were to start today, based on the standings today, who would I take to win? But we are going to try with a little bit of a faster paced video. I've been usually doing about 30 minutes for this. I'm going to try to cut it down to maybe 20 at most. So we'll see how that goes. I want to keep the intro nice and short, though. Make sure you go down there, subscribe if you're new. We do college football, college basketball, NFL, NBA, and MLB. Yeah, a bunch of videos with those coming soon. Uh, in the description, got a bunch of links down there. Make sure you follow the X. Trying to post and tweet on there every single day. TikTok, Twitch, content coming soon. Make sure you follow both of those. And then Discord, you're going to want to join that. Turn on the notice to make sure you don't miss when we upload a video, and like this video if you enjoy it. But with all that being said, let's take a look at the American League standings now. Looking at the AL East, we got a tight race here for 1-2. The Yankees and the Orioles kind of fighting back and forth. Now, the only reason the Orioles are a half game back is because they're in a game right now. So if they win this game, they'll again be tied. If they lose, they'll be a game back. But you know, the Yankees and Orioles have kind of been switching, flip-flopping here at 1-2 in this division. Both really good teams. Both teams definitely capable of making the World Series. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. The Red Sox having a very solid season right now. They're a little bit out of the wild card race, so hopefully they can get themselves into there because they've been in it for quite a while and they're actually having a pretty good season. They got a lot of guys over there hitting well. The Rays, just a little bit of a below average season so far, about 120 games through. I kind of expected this from the Rays. The Blue Jays, though, pretty disappointing. They don't make much moves at the trade deadline, which is weird. So they're kind of just, stuck down here at the bottom of this division. Nothing really exciting going on here. The AL Central, though, this division flipped itself on its head. This used to be the worst division in baseball for what it felt like forever. The past 5 years, I feel like this has been the laughingstock of the league. Now they still have the White Sox, who are 29 and 93, just coming off like a 21-game losing streak, one of the longest in MLB history. Pretty crazy stuff there. But they didn't have the longest one in MLB history, so I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, at the top of this division, the Guardians really just set their foot set in stone at the top for really this whole season. I don't remember a time where they weren't in first. They got a lot of guys over there playing really solid. The Twins and the Royals kind of flip-flopping back and forth here at 2 and 3. Both these teams well above 500 at this point. And yeah, having very solid seasons. The Royals, talk about a guy, Bobby Witt Jr., man. He might win MVP now. If it wasn't for Aaron Judge, I'd say he has it, pretty solidly, but Aaron Judge is still an absolute monster. And you still got guys like Gunnar Henderson on the Orioles. Could give him a run for his money. So, but yeah, he's playing very good. He's in like above 350, I'm pretty sure, which is insane. The Tigers having a solid season, kind of what I expected from them. Similar with the Rays, I kind of expected just a little bit below 500, and then the White Sox at the bottom. We're not going to talk much about them. They're not good. That's as simple as that. The Astros at the top of the AL West. They've been at the top for the past like 2 or 3 videos. Was the Mariners for a while, but man, their hitting is just not it. They bring in a Rosarina at the trade deadline. I actually am not sure how he's been playing since he's got there, but Julio Rodriguez is their best hitter. He was hitting like 275, something like that last time I checked, which for your best hitter isn't great. You'd want to see a little bit more. Especially with the Mariners, they were a team that I picked to make the ALCS preseason. Julio Rodriguez is now hitting 263 actually. He is their best hitter, so yeah, you definitely want their hitting to pick it up. But at this point, I don't think they will. Now, the reason they're winning this many games is the pitching. I've said this a million times. They have the best pitching rotation, one of the best bullpens in the league. It's pretty ridiculous. The Rangers World Series hangover just never went away. They won the World Series last year. They're now 9 games below 500. Kind of weird how this happened. They've had a lot of injuries, but you wouldn't expect this much of a regression. And then the Angels and the A's just sitting at the bottom. They've been at the bottom of this division, I feel like, for the past like 5 seasons in a row now. Not much to talk about here. Trout out for the season for the Angels. The A's got Brent Rooker, I guess, and Mason Miller, but those two aren't going to be enough to get you anywhere in this league. So yeah, let's look at the American League. But now moving over to the National League. We got the NL East. The Phillies looking like they're going to win this division. Now I know there's still a lot of baseball left. They still got 40 games ish till the postseason. So that definitely there's definitely room for change here. But the Phillies have been at the top of this division for a pretty good amount of the season. The Braves having a lot of injury problems. I do expect them to finish second, but I don't think they'll make a late push here to get that first spot in this division. The Phillies are just too talented. The Mets actually did pass up the Braves recently. I made a tweet about this. Yeah, make sure you go follow that Twitter once again. But yeah, the Mets could make a wild card game. I know they're not in there right now. We'll get to that in a little bit, but you know, at this point they're gonna have to pass the Braves if they want to make a wild card push, which they definitely can. They did it a week or two ago. The Nationals and Marlins, not much to talk about here. They're just not good. They're not gonna make the playoffs. Pretty simple there. They've been below 500 for most of the season. The Brewers have been very good recently. They're about to hit 70 wins, which is actually crazy because usually it's the NL East team, the NL West team are the clear 1-2, and then the NL Central winner is just a lot worse than those two. I feel like that's happened a lot in recent memory. Besides when the Cubs were good back then, but the Brewers about to hit 70 wins. They are right there for the Dodgers and the Phillies. Now, right now, the Dodgers and the Phillies are technically tied for the 1 seed. I guess there's no such thing as ties because there's a bunch of tiebreakers, but I didn't really look into that. I just gave the 1 seed to the Phillies because they have the better win percentage. But technically, they're tied because neither of them are a game back of each other. The Brewers, though, are right there for the 1-2, the buys. They're 1.5 games back right now. They could definitely get there. They've been playing really good recently, 7-3 in their last 10. Looking like they're going to win this division. Now looking at the Cardinals, I apologize for the games back. For some reason, I just forgot to do the NL Central, but all the other ones are accurate. So the Reds sitting at 9 games back. I was looking at that. I was like, there's no way that's 5.5. So the Reds and the Cardinals tied here for 2-3, and it's been the Cardinals at 2 for a while, but they had that hot stretch. Now they're on a cold stretch. Lost 4 in a row, 3-7 in the last 10. The Reds are playing very good baseball recently. 7-3 in their last 10 on a 4-game win streak. So pretty much the exact opposite from the Cardinals. And I actually do like the Reds. I think I had the Reds finishing second in my preseason predictions behind the Cubs, which we'll get to that. But yeah, I actually do like this Reds team. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I don't know if they'll make a wild card, but I guess they still could. They're only 4 games back at the Braves. Still a lot of baseball left. The Cardinals, like I said, they were hot for a while, but just yeah, I guess it wore off. They're playing pretty poor right now. The Cubs just doing the thing. They're doing their thing. I saw a little stat. They're like 5-5 in their last 10. Now this isn't technically accurate. Well, I guess that one is. But they were 10-10 in their last 20 games, 20-20 in their last 40, and then since the start of last season, they were also exactly 500, which is unfortunate to see, because a lot of people thought, and myself included, thought the Cubs would win this division this year, but that was it's not going to be the case. They're right now 10.5 games back. The Pirates at the bottom, yeah, they're on a 10-game losing streak. You can't do that. So that's pretty unfortunate because they were 2 games above 500 before this huge losing streak. I think they were third in this division at one point. So that is a little bit unfortunate to see. But yeah, 12.5 games back. I think the Pirates will probably finish last in this division if we're being honest. Now looking at the NL West, it feels like I said this last video. It feels like the Dodgers should be running away with this division just because of how talented the roster is. But you look behind them, there's two very hot teams, only 2 games back. Well, I mean, I will add. I mean, the Diamondbacks and the Padres are literally days away from passing the Dodgers. Now, I don't want to say that because the Dodgers are a good team, but the Dodgers are 6-4 in their last 10. The Diamondbacks and the Padres are both 9-1 in their last 10. The Diamondbacks on a 6-game win streak. The Padres on a 3-game win streak. Both these teams are incredibly hot right now, and they're only 2 games back of the Dodgers. If I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm gonna start to get a little bit worried. These teams are both heating up. It's a little bit scary. The Giants at 500. I don't know how they do this. I mean, their roster just looks so bad on paper, yet they always tend to be 500 or better. It just, I guess, it just feels like. And then the Rockies at the bottom. They're not a good team. But now looking at the playoff bracket, everyone's favorite part, playoff predictions. So looking at the American League wildcard matchups, first up we got the 3-seeded Houston Astros taking on the 6-seeded Kansas City Royals. I do like the Royals, but I think they're a very young team. I don't think they'd be able to get past the Astros' experience in this series. I'll take the Astros in 2. Yeah, like I said, I like Bobby Witt. I like Seth Lugo, but looking at this Astros team, I think they're a little bit more well-rounded. And like I said, they have the experience, so I'm going to take them over the Royals. Looking at the other American League wildcard matchup, the 4-seeded Orioles taking on the 5-seeded Twins. This one, honestly, I could see the Twins winning a game maybe, but I think the Orioles are just. I've said this many times. I think the Orioles are one of the best teams in the league. I know they're very young. People said this last year not to pick them. They were young. They were ultimately right. Now they got another year under their belt. They played a playoff series last year. Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman stepped up their games quite a bit. They brought in Corbin Burns. You know, this is a very good team. I think they would beat the Twins. I think their pitching is just a lot better. So I'm gonna go with the Orioles in 2, but I could see the Twins maybe winning a game. Now looking at the National League Wild Card Series, we got the Brewers taking on the Braves. Now, normally I would take the Braves. I'm usually pretty high on the Braves. I picked the Braves preseason to win the World Series. I picked the Braves last year in my playoff predictions to win the World Series. But I'm actually going to go with the Brewers. I feel like I'm switching my mind a little bit. The Braves just have not been impressive recently, in all honesty. I know they're without Acuna and Strider. Arguably their 2 best players. Probably their 2 best players, which is tough. But they still have a very good lineup. I feel like they should be playing better. They're just not. I'm going to take the Brewers in 3. I think the Brewers have a very, very good hitting team. Jackson Churio, Christian Yelich is there, Willie Adames. They got I'm forgetting some too. They got a bunch of guys though. I'll take the Brewers in 3. I think the Braves would win the game. I think it would be a very close series. We got an NL West matchup here. The Diamondbacks taking on the Padres. 2 teams that are scorching hot right now and looking to pass up the Dodgers. Both about to hit 70 wins. Who do I think would win this series? I think it would go all 3 games. They're both very hot. Ultimately, I think it comes down to the pitching, and I'm going to give the edge to the Padres. Dylan Cease is a very good pitcher. Still have Yu Darvish. Hitting-wise, I would probably also give the edge to the Padres, but it is a little bit closer. The Diamondbacks have Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, but the Padres, they got some other guys too. But the Padres, the Diamondbacks, Christian Walker is another guy. The Padres, though, I mean, Tatis, Luis Ariz, Jurickson Profar, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, probably going to win Rookie of the Year, should win Rookie of the Year. He's phenomenal. I think their team overall is better than the Diamondbacks. Now, when the Diamondbacks were hot last year, they made the World Series coming into the playoffs. So they can carry this momentum. Now, this would be a pretty tough task. But if they can carry this momentum all the way into October, which, you know, it's a month and a half away, so that'd be pretty tough. And they'd get a lot more wins if they end up doing that. They potentially could win the division if they keep this up. But if they keep this up heading into the playoffs again, or it goes back to normal and then they get hot coming into the playoffs, they are definitely a dangerous team. Ultimately, though, right now with both these teams being very hot, I'm gonna say the Padres do win the series, but I think it'd be fun. The Astros Yankees 5 game series here. I am gonna go with the Yankees. I think they're overall the better team now. I do worry because the Yankees tend to choke in the playoffs. The Astros always get it done in the playoffs. But I don't know. It's just Juan Soto and Aaron Judge are so good. I'm gonna go with the Yankees. I'm gonna fall into the trap again. I'm gonna take them in five. I think it would go all 5 games. I think the Astros make it competitive, but I do have to take the Yankees. I think they're just more more complete as a team. This is a really tough series to pick. The Guardians taking on the Orioles. Um, I was thinking about this. If it was the Orioles in that 2 seed and the Yankees had to play the Guardians, I'd probably take the Guardians. Uh, but against the Orioles, I've said this many times before. I think the Orioles are ultimately the best team in the American League. I'm gonna take them in 5 games over the Guardians. Now I've taken the Yankees over the Guardians in the past, but I feel like now I'm kind of switching my opinions a little bit. I feel like the Guardians are a little bit better than the Yankees, but I do ultimately think the Orioles are the best team in the American League, and I know that spoils it a little bit. I think this would go all 5 games. Again, they are a very young teams, so that does give me a little bit concerns, but they've been so good this season. I'm gonna take them. The Dodgers Brewers. Normally I'd take the Dodgers easily, but I did this. They did me. I did think about this for a little bit. Still, I'm gonna go with the Dodgers, but I will say I think it goes all 5 games. The Brewers hitters have really just they've transformed their team in one year. They've always kind of been a pitching first team, defensive first. Now it's a little bit of the opposite. They're more of a hitting team, but I feel like in the playoffs, you know, in and they're winning more regular season games while doing this. I do expect them to you know get to 90ish wins at least. So maybe even 100 maybe. I mean they're about to 70 40ish games. 100 would be hard, but definitely 90 and above, I think. But I mean I feel like they've won the NL Central a lot recently. I don't know. I feel like it's been quite a few years in a row. Um, but they've won with much less wins in the regular season and got it done in the playoffs just because of how they're pitching. They're pitching not super far into the playoffs, but you get what I'm trying to say. So I feel like that actually could end up hurting them a little bit once they get to the playoffs, just because their pitching isn't too good. When you look at the ERA, but I do have to take the Dodgers. They're, like I've said this many times, they're basically an all-star team. Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Who's the guy that won the home run derby? Teoscar Hernandez. Yeah, it's ridiculous how many talented, and that was just hitting wise. It's not even going to the pitching wise. So yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. I mean Tyler Glasnow, Yamamoto. It's ridiculous. They also brought in a bunch of guys to trade deadline too. I do have to take the Dodgers, but I mean Diamondbacks and Padres are right there. They could make things interesting here down the stretch. Speaking of the Padres, they're taking on the Phillies here, and this one I think goes all 5 games. Also, I'm pretty sure I said every series goes 5 games. Yeah, this year this league is pretty competitive, wide open. Honestly, I think it is wide open. I think you'd argue a lot of teams. I think you'd argue the Guardians, Orioles, Yankees could win the World Series. Dodgers have what it takes. The Phillies definitely do. I would argue the Padres do, just because of how talented the team is. I am going to go with the Phillies, though. They're going to have the home field advantage in the series. Yes, the Padres are hot, but the Phillies are just so good pitching-wise, hitting-wise. I mean, they might have the best pitching rotation in baseball, maybe. You could argue Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez. Their bullpen is disgusting. Hitting wise, they have pretty much an all-star lineup also. So I feel like they could, if it does turn into a hitting fest against the Padres, I think they could keep up, but I don't think it does just because of how good their pitching is. So I think the Phillies would win that series. Now looking at the ALCS and AL East matchup here, the Yankees and Orioles. I've predicted this a couple times now in a row. I'm gonna stick with the same prediction though. I'm gonna take the Orioles. Like I said, I feel like it's their year. Um, Preseason I picked them and the Braves to match up in the World Series. I did pick the Braves, but I have them going to the World Series. I'm gonna stick by that. Stuck by that for pretty much this whole season. I just think overall they're the best team in the American League. I really do. I think top to bottom, when you look at it hitting wise, they got Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Ryan Mountcastle. Um, who's their first baseman? Or is Ryan Mountcastle the guy I'm thinking about? They uh, Ramon Urias. I mean they have Santander is a guy I forgot to mention. Um, Mountcastle, I already said him. Cedric Mullins is there. Jordan Westberg is a guy who's played amazing. Jorge Mateo is really good defensively. Um, yeah, and pitching wise, they're very solid. This would go. I think it would go 6 games. I can't trust the Yankees. I just can't. I'm gonna take the Orioles to the World Series. But now looking at the National League, the Phillies taking on the Dodgers. Two Titans last year, Philly versus LA. Be a very fun series. Two teams with stacked lineups top to bottom, but I think it ultimately does come down to the pitching. And I think the Phillies have the edge here. I'm going to take them. I think bullpen wise, they definitely have the well, maybe not definitely. I think bullpen wise, they have the edge. Starting pitching wise, I think it is close, but I think they have the edge. And hitting wise, you could you could go either way, but both these teams hit very well. So I am going to take the Phillies, though. I think I'm going to stick with my World Series pick I've been taking the past couple of videos. Phillies versus Orioles. I take the Phillies over the Dodgers in 7. It's kind of a Yankees thing with the Dodgers. Just can they pull it all off, pull it together in the playoffs? It's hard to trust them fully. But looking at the World Series, that sets up a Orioles Phillies matchup, an East Coast matchup here. Maryland taking on Pennsylvania, two states pretty close proximity. But all in all, I've said this. I've had this. Well, technically, I've had the Orioles for the past, but I switched to the Phillies last week. I'm gonna stick with the Phillies as of right now. I think it comes down to the pitching. I really do. I mean, out of this field of teams in the playoffs, I think the Phillies have the best pitching. I think they have the best bullpen. Twins bullpen's pretty good. The Guardians bullpen's really good. Uh, um, there's I just think the Phillies, top to bottom, have the best pitching in all of baseball. When you look at starting and bullpen wise, and hitting wise, there's so many guys there that can just hit the ball. I mean, Alec Boehm, Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Bryson Stott, Trey Turner, Real Muto. It's just a stacked team. I mean it is. It's a stacked team. Now the Orioles have guys, but like I said, they are a little bit young, so it does worry me to pick them to win it all. Um, I think the Phillies have what it takes. Their home field is absurd. They have one of the best fan bases, if not the best fan base in baseball. So I'm gonna go with the Phillies again. I'll say they win in 6. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the video today. Let me know if you guys liked a little bit of a faster version of these, maybe, or if you want me to go back to the longer versions. I just want to try out something new here. I don't even know how fast I went. Maybe it wasn't even that fast. Who knows? But it definitely was faster than past. I think it was around 20 minutes. So hopefully you guys like that. Let me know in the comments if you did or not. Some point next week we'll get back into the college football, either Big Ten or SEC preview, and then whichever one we don't do, we'll probably do later that week. Uh, we'll see, and we'll also have to do NFL um, prediction stuff as well. So yeah, that would be very, very fun. Just a little insight what's coming soon. Make sure you subscribe to make sure you don't miss that. Turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss when we post. And like this video if you enjoyed. Like I said earlier, a bunch of links in the description. Make sure you go follow all those. X, uh, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Join that. All in the description. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. And hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you guys next.